Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the June 9th meeting of the Board of Sewer Commissioners. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call.
Malcolm White, present.
Donna Bronk, present.
Peter Dunlop, present.
Jim Gibberti, present. We have minutes from January 20th for approval.
Hi, sorry.
Everybody rise, Sandy's here. I'll give you a moment to get seated first.
This is the March, are we looking at the March meeting?
No,
No, this is
January
20th.
January
Okay.
20th.
You want to make notes, she's here?
Yeah, I already have.
I reviewed the January 20th meeting. Thank you. I reviewed and approved the January 20th minutes as presented.
Set the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we also have minutes from March 24th.
Were we all here for March 24th?
All except Malcolm.
I have reviewed the minutes and find them acceptable.
I second it.
Donna, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Malcolm, have you reviewed them?
Abstain. I wasn't present.
Right. Correct.
And I apologize, I had a meeting that ran a little longer than I had hoped.
What did I tell you?
Donna, you get the prize.
I do. I said, they said, where is Sandy? And I says, probably at another meeting.
Yep, mine at Forest goes from 5:30 until I leave, so.
Okay, the next thing, I wanted to go over the moratorium. It's in effect. We have a queue established. The only ones that are allowed to hook up now are ones that have already been approved or have had prior approval before this took place.
Or have an existing hub.
Excuse me?
Stub. If a lot already has a stub assigned, we've allocated that
I said if
flow.
it's already been allocated.
Okay,
Yeah, he did, she,
so it's anybody with a stub or anybody of the projects that we recently approved.
Is that correct, Guy?
That's correct. There,
Okay.
in the
I just wanna make-
projects,
Yeah,
like
all right.
contract 3, contract 1, et cetera, et cetera.
Still paying him.
Okay, so, one of the questions that's come up a couple of times, at least to me, I don't know about any of the rest of you, is how long is this moratorium going to be in effect? And my answer, whether it's right or wrong, I don't know at this point, has been probably 3 to 5 years. Because we do not have, at least at this point, an alternative for expulsion other than the Agawam River. We're looking into various ways to increase our expulsion capability, to be able to increase our units, but the only other option that I can see, can Guy kick in here wherever, is if we've got places that we're able to take offline.
Correct.
Now, I don't know of any of those, but
Yeah, and you and I discussed it, Jim, and other than that, the only thing we can do quickly is deal with the I&I in certain areas.
right.
And I think we should have at least a project every year working on I&I. I don't see a faster way to gain anything. The
We're-
long-term solution is long-term,
We still paying
the
him.
real solution, so.
So I&I is a tricky, you're right. We can line pipe and groundwater, seeking the path of least resistance, will go to the next area. this project in Juan Kinko Street that we're doing with the grinder pumps, that should put a considerable dent because
all
we're
part of it.
attacking the inflow part of the infiltration inflow. And that is our biggest problem during a rain event. 40% of all that 300,000 gallons a day we may get is strictly inflow, which is sump pump. So this should address some of that, which is pretty important. So
Yep.
that'll get us some capacity. And once we do something, we've got to look at the numbers, as an example, our daily flow, and watch it come down, and that's how we make our decision year to year, based upon what we're seeing for the year average of flow, and then we can make a decision
that's
on
the
the
best
success of the
short-term.
project, yeah. I agree.
Well, we put the big plan in place. We have to be proactive somewhere, so.
Absolutely. No, I mean, we've been looking at the INI reduction or attempt to reduce it right along. So, I mean, this is nothing new. It's just that we're gonna have to,
We got a little star on it now. Like I
Yeah,
said, I'd like to
we're
see a
gonna-
project every year
that
until we
just,
get straightened
that just
out.
addresses INI.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea of how the activity at Swiss Beach, what flow reduction we will get?
No. We can
So,
guess, I can't tell you,
so we are taking okay, how about the best guess? So if we're saying that we're going to do a project every year to reduce the inflow, we're going to have to come up with some way of counting and telling the public how much we are reducing the flow to the plant with each one of these projects.
that's year to year. The only way we can do that is to look at the past year, look at that flow.
So once something
this
come
year,
online and compare it with before the improvement, after the improvement, and the delta is what we've saved.
That is correct. Because you can,
But that's gotta be a time frame involved,
right.
because we can't do it right away. I mean, we'll have to do the improvement now.
Yes.
And won't have an answer to that particular question for 6 months to a year.
that's right. We know that Swiss Beach, we've done the analysis, we've done the study, we know that Swiss Beach is a considerable amount of infiltration inflow to us, we know that. If we were to do every single pipe, or if we did one a year in Swiss Beach alone, we could grab 150,000 gallons when it's completed. But as we go, once we get one, water, as the water table comes and goes, it'll find someplace else to go. And that's just the way it is. So when we get the whole thing done, then it has no place to go, and we've captured it, then we're done.
Right. And the targeting is part of that plan.
When we talked about,
Where do you go next?
that's right. And so I would like to stay in Swiss Beach. There's two areas, and the report, we'll dig it up again, because we issued the report, when they did, we had to do by law an I&I study. We've done it. We spent about $380,000 on that report. And it gave us suggestions at the time, which we've never followed
remember,
through.
yeah.
We just set it aside, and that's that. So the goal was to identify and then camera everything and then figure out a plan of attack for the specific areas that were the highest. And so one was in Onset, along 12th Avenue, North Boulevard, that area there was very high in I&I. Swiss Beach was extremely high in I&I. And so we look at these areas throughout Onset and Swiss Beach, and we say, okay, where we're going to go. So to your point, if we're going to do something annually, then we've got to map out Swiss Beach and say, we did this section, we'll do this section, and then just work our way from the beach all the way up to the high point. I don't know where that is, probably around Meyer Street or whatever it is, where we start our sewering where the force main is. That's done, and we'll see significant improvements, but that's a time consumption thing.
To help me with this guy, we should be planning next year, starting now.
We should. We really should. Well, look, we are. We're in the middle of, we have some major issues. The plant headworks and clarifies we have to address. That's going to be our next IUP. And I want to point out is that as we're planning, we really need to apply for this SRF funding that has debt forgiveness. Wareham is, I believe we're Tier 3. We are guaranteed a 9.9% debt forgiveness on every dollar we borrow. So we're going to do a 4-year plan. The first year, we've got some plan issues. Second year, we're going to do infrastructure. And we'll look for a good piece of the pie, not just, if we're gonna borrow money at a great rate, and in the interim, we should talk about net zero flow, which gives us 0% interest on this money, opposed to 2 to 3% we're paying, then we're gonna save a significant amount of money, and we'll put that all in writing. And so this is how we're gonna go year to year to year to year.
Guy,
So
who's
we will do
we?
it. The board.
We
Sewer.
are going to be doing, should we be taking action? Should we be
Yes.
writing something? So what?
No, so so
I'm
we'll
just
lay
trying to
this
think-
out. Okay, we've hired an engineering firm to do a comprehensive wastewater management plan. This is part of that. So I'm talking about the body of the sewer department.
Okay.
The sewer, it's a we, this is we.
That's about the 150,000, 160,000, is that about what that plant, what that study's gonna cost us?
That study is, no,
950.
it's about, that study's $380,000, $400,000.
So, and we have funds for it.
Yes, we have funds for that. We collectively, because no one can make the decisions but we, because they're hard decisions to make. This board has to make some hard decisions. Now, ultimately, and I'll be very frank, to spend money in Wareham, that becomes them. And I don't mean that negatively. That's the selectman and the town administrator. So there has to be some type of unity here, all right, or it's not going to work.
Our duty is to put it out there,
That's right.
and then we're
right.
doing due diligence.
We'll do our due diligence and we'll move it forward.
I want to stay out of court.
I don't blame
We
you.
we need to be doing our job,
I agree.
so.
And we are, and we are. You've approved the things that we need to do. We're moving forward. We're trying to address everything. You put a moratorium in place. I don't think there's any negligence or neglect with this board at all.
I don't want anybody to think that.
I don't see any of that.
So most likely, our next project's in Swift Beach.
Yes, that area is
Okay.
huge. It's huge. For every gallon of water that goes in there, 2 gallons come out.
Okay, Guy, what are you encompassing? Just Swift Beach itself, or including Hamilton and?
Yes, that's part of Swiss Beach. When
Oh,
I say,
Swiss
yeah,
Beach, okay.
Hamilton
I
Beach,
just wanna know
Swiss
which
Beach, all the way up to, I
That whole
think
thing.
it's Mather is where it starts to get high.
Okay, right.
When we get out of that water table issue, I believe. I'll have to look at that hard. We're actually doing a grant, we applied for a grant that's gonna allow us to map that. So we can have a conclusive idea of what we really need to do. So that's, yes,
Oh.
that's our goal.
We're gonna be look at the flow into Smith's pump station?
So
We'll
everything.
Look at the flow, have we covered the flow into Ruggles, or is there more coming into Ruggles than we're currently handling?
Ruggles, as we speak, has high flow, higher than
No,
what.
right
but
now,
once
we got a project going into Ruggles, and we got that covered.
It'll decrease the flow to Ruggles.
What else
almost-
comes into Ruggles?
There's some across that little parking area there where you got the playground, the brook on the other side,
Okay,
there's a
so
couple
there's still
streets.
homes
Yeah.
impacting Ruggles that we can attack?
Yes.
There are homes going into Swifts that we could,
Smiths.
Smiths that we can attack. Is there another pump station in the Swifts Beach area?
No.
So we should focus on Ruggles and Smith.
Yes, Ruggles flows to Smith, Smith's flows to our pump station in Kennedy. So yes, so we need to, those two, we call catchment areas of Smith and Ruggles is our focus.
Okay. So can we agree to agree, say, within a month, where we're going next year?
Good, what did you say? Ruggles pumps to Smith,
Correct,
and Smith picks up Hamilton Beach.
correct.
But Ruggles goes through Smith?
Correct.
Boy, did they screw up. That's ridiculous.
That project was a failure from day one.
Mike, let's get back to where you were going. Mac, looking for,
Yeah, I want to define the next project within the next month. Is that possible, Guy? We don't have to wait for the mapping at this point.
No, we know we gotta do, we've done along the water, one Kinko is very hammered. We'll just stay along the water, work our way around, encompass Hamilton, swing back up, along Pilgrim, and then work our way up to shore, and then take shore and just sweep all the way up.
So
Then-
in a month, you'll be able to give us an idea of what streets we're talking for in this next phase?
Yes, I'll give you an idea, because, so
Well,
the
yeah.
IUP that we're writing for August, this August applying will be for the treatment plant. We're gonna apply again for an IUP for the infrastructure.
Okay.
In a month, I'll give you an idea of where we're going to go in Swiss Beach,
what Matt-
attack our plans.
That's what MAC is looking
So
for, the
we can
list
get
of the
that out.
streets.
Yeah,
That will be the next attack.
And Mac, what I'll do is, and you have your report, but I'll break out the report of the I&I study, and it has a map of
that goes,
catchment areas.
that goes back a few years.
Yeah, so that catchment area is there, and we can talk about the areas and streets, and we can look at, because areas tell us how many homes and capacity per project, so we can do that, absolutely. That's
Yeah,
straightforward.
now Russ didn't do the engineering on that, correct?
No, that was done by Bader, that was
Bader.
done by Joe
So do
Federico.
we involve them?
So, yes, Russ is gonna be involved, because they're doing our comprehensive wastewater management plan. They'll be involved in all of this projects as we move forward.
I think it's, the way it's gone, it's probably reasonable to have something shovel-ready about a year from now,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we've got.
even if we wait till the fall, Guy. Let's
Absolutely.
start now.
We have to
You know,
start now.
when the summer people are,
We have to start now.
whatever.
So there's a process, so once we decide, then GHD hires JC Engineering to do the surveying of the areas, because that's critical, because in Swiss Beach, which is dicey, there's private and public roads. And so we have to figure out, some of the roads are owned by the residents to the middle of the street. So we have to figure out easements. There's some streets that have no easements. So there's a lot of logistics. So we'll do that, we'll do our due diligence so we can become shovel-ready.
So we can be to the point that for next spring town meeting, we have another article to fund the next phase, which means we have to start planning that now in order to understand the cost anticipated.
And I'm going to be frank, none of this is going to be cheap, to be frank, and all the
No,
things we're doing.
I know that.
I sat with Russ last week, and we looked at general improvements we need. We're talking $60 million.
Yeah.
Well, none of it's cheap, and so we have to.
Just on Swifts?
No, just on the treatment plant. So we have to figure out what part becomes highly critical. When we first did Swiss Beach, it was $20 million. When we first did, and that was maybe 9 years ago. We did a plan for all of Swiss Beach to do E1 pumps. It was 20 million. So inflation, et cetera, what is that 20 million today? I don't know.
Yeah.
But we got a hard number for 20 million when we did Swiss Beach, all of Swiss Beach.
Guy, one of the things that we're kind of overlooking, what has to be done to the plant before we can do some of this other stuff?
The Headworks building is destroyed, so that means we have no grit removal, we have no rag removal, which is destroying the downstream of the plant. So that has to be done. We have clarifiers that were identified in 2005 when they went online, 2010, I believe, 2013, when Woodward and Curran did their survey, and today, that the clarifiers are insufficient. So they need to be replaced. Just those two items are $19 million.
Okay, so those are gonna be front burner items,
Yes, they are.
even over and above the I&I,
That's right.
because we can't cope with the I&I, even if we try to remove it with what we've got with the
Plant's in
facilities
trouble.
that we're dealing.
So the biggest problem we're having is everybody flushes, right? They flush everything they're not supposed to flush. So when we have no Headworks building, I'm not removing grit, which becomes sandpaper downstream, running my pipes and my pumps, so I gotta replace those. The paper products and the non-flushables, I'll plug in everything. My clarifiers can't even work because the draft tubes are full of rags. We have to pull them out 3-4 times a day, so yes, you're right, that,
Yeah, I
we
mean, the
have
bottom
to
line is
address
we've
that.
gotta get that stuff done first,
Have to.
no matter what. So that's gotta be the
That's
first.
our first. The second is infrastructure.
Exactly.
And I
So-
think the infrastructure should be, and it will take, and we got the time to do it, but it should be pretty extensive. We need to see how much of Swiss Beach we can really get done, because that's a heavy hitter.
When are we gonna see plans for Swiss Beach?
I'm meeting Tuesday at 2:30 for the final plans. They're in the hands of the water district because they have pipes there, and we gotta make sure there's no conflicts. And so we couldn't do anything until they finalized it, and so Tuesday we're meeting, and we'll have final plans for Swiss Beach.
Okay, so probably for the next meeting, or the one after.
I would suggest, it's just a suggestion, that somebody comes to that meeting at 2:30, one or two of you, and then we'll go over it. Because I think that's easier, because then you can understand it, and then any questions we have, we can explain them. I think it just makes more sense.
When's that meeting?
The
Tuesday,
14th at
2:30.
2:30, Tuesday the 14th at 2:30.
Have you got any hint as to when they can start and finish this project?
So, once we finalize the plans Tuesday, we're gonna go out to bid. So that takes a month, 6 weeks. We can fast track it. Once the bid's done, then we gotta pick a bid winner. We'll pick the bid winner, then we gotta negotiate a contract, and we'll get going. So I'm gonna suggest, just simply knowing the way we work, end of the summer, early fall, we can start the project.
So we could show a reduction hypothetically at Ruggles by,
Next summer?
A year from there, to be
in other
to be
words, before we go
conservative.
to Springtown meeting, I would like to be able to show them that the 3 million we spent at Swifts produced some decent results.
I would like to wait 1 year because we do an annual, yearly flow. Everything we do is based upon an annual flow. So there's some variables. So in August, September, and October, we see flows peak. That's calculated. In January, February, we see flows dropped. So to make an honest assessment, to get a good representation, we take one of every month and average it out to see what our flow is. That is more realistic than saying, okay, I've got this, because it may not be a true reflection of what's going on, because I may miss the high months. So I'd rather not commit. A year is realistic. And that's conservative, and most
All right.
people, that's a conservative
So
approach.
are you saying then we're 2 years away from the next project at Swifts?
Correct. This year, I would like to do, again, this is just, the engineers will suggest it. We're not telling you what to do, but the bottom line is, the plan is a higher priority because of the needs. The next project would be the Swiss Beach project. We would move that forward to the SRF funding to get funding at a low interest rate and to get debt forgiveness. And so that is due, I would probably say by next August, I have to get that paperwork into the DEP to get funded.
But can't we do two at the same time? Can't we be spending money to correct the deficiencies at the plant and
We
a
can.
plan for
We can
Swiss
put-
Beach? So I don't have to do them one after the
Well,
other.
we
I
can put
do-
two projects in, but here's the issue. I'll be very frank. So the DEP they have projects from the entire state. So they weigh them.
Yeah,
And so WAM could put 5 in and say, okay, which ones come? But here's the bottom line. If they all get picked, we've got to fund them. And here's the catch that's hard to understand. I have to pay, I shouldn't say the ratepayers have to pay
interest in
the
principal.
contractor as he's doing the work. And then we're reimbursed. So if I have a $40 million project with 20 here and 20 there, then I
take a
better have the
$40
money in the
million
bank.
loan.
If you don't
to
take a loan.
pay as we go.
If you don't take a loan.
Even if I take a loan, because I gotta pay before. The loans are reimbursements. Reimbursements means I have to spend the money. That's all I'm saying. So we can do anything.
I hear you.
That's all, but we have to have the money up front and get reimbursed. That's
So
all.
we can only spend up to the level that we can
That we can
afford
handle.
at that particular point in
That, it
time.
just,
and
and then go
We'll
each
have the
year.
money to go forward with after we get the reimbursement.
So that's all I'm saying. We can do anything. We can do all the projects, throw them all out there. And the dilemma is if they approve them all, then we've gotta front that money.
Guy, hold on one second. Tuesday, 2 o'clock?
2:30.
2:30.
So I have a 1 o'clock Tuesday. I have a 1 o'clock, a 2:30, and a 4:30.
And that's gonna be at the plant?
Yes. Conference room.
On that SRF funding, is any of that applicable to the headworks and the plant?
It is.
As
The
well as,
headworks, yes, the headworks, the headworks and the clarifiers has a lower interest rate because it addresses nutrient removal.
okay,
We're gonna try to tie in nutrient removal to the pump, to the infrastructure, would probably be difficult, but nutrient removal gets a higher priority on the list of SRF funding. You get a bunch of points.
Okay, who's submitting that request?
GHD.
GHD?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna submit to you, we're working on the documents now, and we'll submit them within a couple weeks. We'll get you the document of what they're submitting, how they're doing it, how we're breaking it down.
So
give you
we're
a total
paying
game plan.
GHD to write the grant request for the our SRF funds.
We're not paying them anything. What we'll pay them for is to do the actual plans that the DEP will need to get funded. So to write the grant, they're doing it. We're not paying them to
So
write the grant.
they're giving us the grant gratis.
They're giving us, yes, they're doing it. They're writing the SRF.
Grant in about 2 weeks?
We should see it, yes, because we have to have it in by the end of July, and so you'll get a draft. And then we can discuss it, and you can say what you want to do, but we'll get you that. 'Cause it's pretty close. I looked at the draft, and we'll give you another draft. I'm looking as we go along, so.
So we will have a draft at the next meeting, and that has to be the final one, because it has to be in by the end of July. I'm
It
looking
has to
forward-
be into the Department of Environmental Protection SRF
So,
funded by the end of July,
The next
yes.
meeting is our only time to review it and comment on it.
Well, okay.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I think we got another one. Don't we have another one?
No, you got 2 more meetings, at least before the end of July.
But it has to be in at the end of
It's gonna be in
July.
end of July. They gotta submit it.
Right,
But we'll
I
have
understand
one
that.
more meeting. So we'll have, I suggest we have 2 meetings, 2 weeks and 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks,
Yeah,
my
we
God,
will.
it's July 1st, July, oh my, don't I wanna talk about it. Forget it, don't go to your book. July's almost here.
July 8th will be the meeting after
that's
our
the
next
meet-
one
yeah.
of this month.
July 8th would probably be the meeting to get it at, if that's our meeting.
That's 2 meetings.
Because we gotta get it finalized and in.
No, I'm sorry.
Well-
It'll be July 14th will be our next, our
That's
first.
tight. I'll ask. It's tight,
And
but I'll
July
ask.
14th is our next meeting. We don't have another
I
meeting.
understand
yeah.
that.
Ooh,
We
okay.
have- we
I'll
have-
ask them. It's
We have a
tight.
meeting before that, which is the 23rd of this month.
Okay.
So it will go on the agenda for discussion, and we'll get it ahead of time to review it.
I'm gonna send an email right now to,
If, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Thank you. Can we, is there something that we can do based on the time frame that we're facing? In other words, we get the draft, can we have a couple of you guys, you know, say Mac and Jimmy, look at it and give our blessings on, you know, if any last minute stuff. We, in other words, let somebody clean it up, if we're running into a real time crunch. Can we do that?
Yeah, if you're willing to do that,
We
you can just,
we
I
can, we
do.
can even do that as a group.
Well, yeah,
The problem is, and I'm going to say the obvious, is that the plant maintenance doesn't increase the capacity of the plant,
no, it doesn't.
no, it
but
doesn't.
it has to be done.
Has to be
So
done.
we are in a tough position because we need to be proactive on increasing capacity.
Correct.
And the I right now,
Well, I
is the
understand that,
only
Mac,
way we can go.
But if the
We have to,
plant,
we can't afford both, well, we got to be pretty close to doing them all
because,
simultaneously.
the plant, if the plant breaks down and comes to a stop, it doesn't
Right.
make any difference if
I
you save
totally
I&I or
understand that.
not.
I'm not discounting that,
No.
but the fact of the matter
That's
is,
our biggest, I think that's our biggest problem, but I agree with
We
you.
have two
We've got to
problems.
do both of them at
Yeah.
the same time, somehow,
somehow,
yeah.
I just want
that's beyond me.
I just want to get it, make sure that we're not holding back anything.
Right,
You know,
right.
we're not, because of our meeting schedule, I want people that can make that decision.
Well, we can
It
always
just-
have an extra meeting.
Yeah,
Well, no,
well-
I understand that, and whatever,
But the point is, what Max said is absolutely true.
yeah.
I&I is the cause for the moratorium, okay. But if the plant isn't running,
It doesn't matter.
Right,
No,
doesn't matter.
we all know that.
I know
mean,
that.
so we have to figure out a way to do both, period.
Okay, that's gonna be on
So
next
get,
agenda again.
well,
Pick up the
I
slack, and
guess-
we'll have some information back from him to update and go further.
Yeah, it would, yeah.
So-
I want to use as much federal funds as we can.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I would be happy just knowing we're doing some soft planning on the next project, and we have a
Well, no,
direction
we have
in
to
about 4 or 5
I
weeks.
agree with you, Mac. We've got to do the planning. It's
Yes.
got to be in place
And-
to go.
If we can't afford to do it, it'll be ready to go
Yeah.
immediately thereafter.
Okay, Robinwood Road, update, please. What is happening up
I
there?
wouldn't be the person to discuss that with. The board has granted 3,000 gallons for them to do their project, and for those that don't know where it is, I think it's a seminary, choirs or something, I don't know. I really don't
Yeah,
know.
they're putting 5 homes in.
I thought it was 7, right?
7?
It could be more, I thought it was 7, but who knows? We approved 3,000, so that's,
Yep.
we'd have to do that.
That's all right. That's a,
You
yes,
can talk, I can't.
no.
It's right here.
I think I know where it is because I've talked to some people there.
I know where Robinwood Road is, yeah.
So this is the project that
Okay.
we're talking about. This is the road that comes down.
All the buildings in the seminary are taken down, and they're putting in
Seminary, the first half.
5 or 7 homes.
Yeah.
That's the, okay, so we all know where. Mr. Chairman, what I suggested to some gentlemen on the phone today, is to talk to the planning, because the questions that I was asked is the directional drilling, I think under houses. Well, I couldn't tell you. I would suggest to you that anybody approving plans wouldn't let somebody drill under a house. But that's up to the planning, that's beyond our purview. We're not going to control that, so I would suggest that they talk to or write letters to the planning department suggesting that they get involved if they have concerns, and at least get a letter saying, here's our concerns that need to be addressed.
But it's my-
At what depth are they, I don't know.
My understanding, that's all been approved by
It has been.
Conservation. Conservation has not approved the individual homes.
Mm-hmm.
They approved the land site, but not individual homes. But I thought planning had approved the sewer line going down these streets to a
Yes.
local pump station. I mean, this is a lot of land, of yards, feet that will be used.
Yes, to my understanding, but
This right angle, that right angle, I mean, yeah,
to
so
my
it's-
understanding, but I haven't seen it, so my suggestion to the folks that were calling is to call the people that made the decision, and get copies of what's actually being done. Alls I know is that we approved 3,000 gallons per day for this, it's approved, they're moving forward, and that's all that we can tell them. That's all I got.
So basically, our involvement is to, once they're installed, is to accept the 3,000 gallons a day.
That's right.
We've
So,
given approval prior to the moratorium for that, so that's already in the queue
that's right.
and has been approved, so it's not anything new or different. The problem now is out of our hands, and it's in planning or zoning or whoever else that determines the directional drilling or approves the directional drilling, because that has nothing to do with us. They're installing that pipe, they're doing that drilling, that's all on their dime.
That's right, and they own the pipe, we don't own it, it's all on them. We own the manhole they tie into, so we're gonna regulate that. How they tie into it, we'll make them line it so it doesn't get corrosion from the highest H2S from the pumps. We own that, we'll take care of that. But how they get from here to here and what they have to spend, that's not on us.
I would expect the building inspector, building department to now take over now that planning has approved
I
the
don't know.
subdivision.
Don't expect anything.
I just know
But
that I don't
It's
have
hard
any
to
answers.
believe, I can't see planning doing it, having in charge of the sewer lines. It's not conservation, it's not planning, it's not zoning. To me, it comes down to building inspectors,
And it's not sewer.
and it's not sewer.
Okay,
It would
if
be
I-
planning.
if I-
It was
yeah.
planning last time.
That's right. They're the
We
ones who-
approved grinder pumps, they said
That's right.
no. So it's planning.
If I can beg everybody's indulgence for a moment. Hey, Mike, would you like to input anything on this? I know you've had a question in the past, okay. I can't believe that you're keeping your mouth shut. This is beyond belief. Please make a note of this in the record.
Yes, Mr. Bessie remained quiet.
Don't Don't go there, Mike. Don't go there, pal. Oh, God. Okay, so
Well,
basically, our position is you talk to planning or building department if anybody has a question, because other than the fact that they've been approved, limited to what they can do based on the approval that they've already received, and that was a year ago.
Yes, and they own it, just like the Bay Point project. The force main goes from Bay Point down Onset Avenue. Presently, it's in Independence Drive manhole. We're gonna move it. They're responsible for all of it. That's their force main. They maintain it. They decide the route. I'm not gonna get involved. They do the easements. They have to work with the state. In this case, they'll work with the town. They'll do what they have to do to get it done.
Do we review their specs on what they're using and sizing and?
We review specs to make sure it doesn't conflict with sewer policies as far as connecting to the sewer. But other than that, we don't tell them. They get their advice from their consultants and pump manufacturers, et cetera, and we just make sure it meets specific guidelines under the TR-16 that we have, which is state guidance. That's as far as we go.
Okay, is there anything that we need to have with them or they need to have with us that delineates going forward, any problems with the lines on their property are their responsibility and not ours?
It is. They'll come forward for permits. At that time, we'll actually get a copy of the plans. They will pay $1,500 for us to review the plans, and at that time, we'll make our comments in as, we don't own any of these lines, you're responsible. We'll require them to put an easement in place for where it belongs. We'll ask them to register it with the Registry of Deeds, because those are the courtesy things that may become problems in the years to come that will come back on us. Those are recommendations that we will make, and to give them the permit to connect to our manhole. That's the guidance we'll give them. But
Okay,
yeah.
well, if that has a potential to come back on us sometime in the future, wouldn't it behoove us at this point in time to specify what they should be using for piping?
No, that's the manufacturers. That's spec'd by the manufacturers. The engineers ask me or whatever, they've got specific specs on pipe, on force main pipe, sizes. That's all regulated by engineering code. That's regulated. They have to use, applied principles and applied, and when they go to materials shop, they'll tell them that this is what they need.
Right.
So when we get the plans, we'll give it a quick look, and we'll see if we see something that's totally out of the ordinary. If they want to use garden hose, at that point, we'll say, no, garden hose is unacceptable. Here's the rules and regs about piping based upon, so that's how we'll handle it, but they'll spec what's proper.
Okay. Anybody, anything else?
Yeah. I'm having a senior moment here.
It's okay.
What the hell are we talking about? What is the problem?
There's no problem. I don't have a problem, but I don't know. I guess there's,
So
so,
why are we discussing this?
I don't know. Well, because neighbors, I'm getting calls from neighbors
been
wondering
questions
about
raised.
how deep it's going to go, is it going under my house? I can't answer those questions. So I think that's why Jim put it on the agenda.
Right, exactly.
it's
We're
shown
getting
in
the
the road.
questions on it,
Yeah, that's everything.
and I wanted
in
to
the
find
road.
out where our responsibility is
For what?
for the whole thing. What we
I
just
guess
found
that's
out.
what I'm asking.
What we just
What
found
is
out.
the whole thing?
The project.
So there's a seminary, Peter, that they're just they bought.
Yeah.
They're destroying, they're gonna build, I believe, 7 four-bedroom homes. That's what I believe.
Okay.
And they're gonna put grinder pumps. Then they're gonna do a pipe, I believe it's going to be a 3-inch pipe, 2-inch pipe. I think 3 is an overkill, but I think they expect 3. And they're gonna directional drill that from that property all the way under, along the roads, and come up to a manhole on Woodbury. So that's what they're doing, and they're responsible for all of that. So that's what we approved. The question becomes from concerns, I think it's the Sias Point Association had some concerns. And they worried about, is it going under my house? How deep is it going to be? Is it going to cross the roads? And I couldn't answer the questions. So I suggested they contact the planning, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what this discussion's about.
So we've okayed them to connect to our system,
That's correct.
but aside from that, it's pretty much none of our business.
Pretty much. We have
Okay,
some
thank
input,
you.
but yes, pretty much.
That's what I wanted to get out, so that
Pretty much.
everybody was aware of that. that's all. Expulsion alternatives. Unless there's something,
What is expulsion? Is that discharge?
yeah,
Okay, because I didn't know what expulsion was.
okay,
I thought we called that effluent,
Effluent,
effluent, okay.
with an E, not the I.
not the I.
Pick
This
a wo-
expulsion is a new word. I was a little thrown by that.
Oh, yes,
I was
Pick a
thrown by
word you
that.
like,
but this is what confuses us seniors.
pick a word you like.
So this is the flow into Agawam.
Yes. Right now, we're expulsion
where
into
it's going.
Agawam River.
Now,
And right now, I thought we were asking for an increase.
but that's one of the things.
Yes.
We're also trying to find a groundwater discharge location.
Okay,
We're also looking at
Cape Cod Canal.
canal.
canal,
We're also looking at decentral sewer.
thank you. That's that Chinese thing that we were looking at.
That's just
now?
what, yes, a Chinese thing, but it could be anything. It's,
Right.
we're looking to decentralize. Instead of
Centralize
sending it
some of
here,
these things.
like, immediately, we're talking about West Wareham, taking the flow from Industrial Park, which is about 90,000 gallons a day, send it to that detached center, freeing up 90,000 gallons a day here for whatever. So these are all.
What qualifies a piece of property for groundwater discharge?
The ability, it's a perk test, a big perk test, but the ability to take in the water without pooling or ponding, if you will. So that's a calculation that the engineers do. They pour water in, I think because it's a discharge bed, they have a bigger ring and more gallons, see how, and they monitor how quick it's absorbed. They do calcs, and they make
So,
decisions. It's how-
Just that on a gigantic scale.
It's a perk test on a gigantic scale.
What about the golf course?
I haven't seen the deed yet, the deed restriction. I haven't seen any of that yet. We've requested it, but I haven't seen anything on that yet. Well, that's another story. We could discharge under the 15th fairway without a problem. Because we're underneath it. They could go and do their business.
It doesn't bother us, it'll just go back in through the leaks.
And just go back in. So, I mean, we can put, if you look at the Bourne new treatment plan, it's under the parking lot of the police station. That's their leach, that's their, if you will, their groundwater.
It perked.
It perks, so they put a parking lot over it so they can have parking. So the land has double purpose. So we could, we could do, I mean, there's all kinds of options that you have to vet and look at. Just because you put a bed out there doesn't mean that property becomes useless. There's things you can do over it. That's all I'm saying. So that's,
Have we looked at any of these locations?
yeah, we looked at a lot of them. There's a report coming out. We're looking at them. We got permission to dig into Westfield. We've dug into, we're digging into Deacon's School. We're digging, behind Deacon's School is a piece of property owned by Bliss Family Foundation on the other side of the tracks. We've requested of them to let us dig there. We'd like to do along, we're looking at along Walmart, the Bliss Family Foundation has a piece of property there we're looking at. So we've done a few, and so they're.
Looking at Minot Forest?
So GHD, not Minus Forest, Deacon's.
No.
GHD, Minor Forest, we kind of looked at it, but the town didn't want. So GHD is doing, right now, they're doing all these calculations. They're doing it by size of land, et cetera, et cetera. That's the first look. Then the second look will be which ones do we go actually do the actual physical test, and then we whittle it down to which one would be the best to meet our needs by gallons. How many gallons can we do in each one of these? So that's all being done now.
You were looking at the area around Walmart?
Yeah, if you look at Walmart, behind Walmart, there's all that open land. Yeah, I'm looking at that piece of parcel.
You mean like under the solar field?
No, if you look at Walmart, next there's a bunch of
On
property.
the other side of the fence,
It's
in
all
by the,
open.
by
That's
the,
owned by the Bliss
Does it
Family
have to be
Foundation.
open?
No, we could put solar
I mean, if
field.
they put it under a police station, could you put it under Walmart?
Well, we'd have to move
I
the
mean,
building.
if Walmart said okay, obviously.
Yeah, if Walmart said I can put it in their parking lot, we could. You know what I mean? I wouldn't move the building, but if they said, listen, you can put it in the parking lot, we would rip the parking lot up, we'd put the bed in, and then we'd put the parking lot
Could you
back.
go under the solar field? If
We'd have to
whoever owns
move
it
the
said
solar
yes?
field, right? Again, we have to move the solar field, because you gotta put the pipe, the plenum, the distribution box, all that, and then put the solar fields back on. So we have to move them to do the work.
Wouldn't have, you just run it down between the lines.
Yeah, I don't think it, because, yeah, it's a little bit, because it's gotta be underground.
It's a major excavation.
It is. I can't just put it.
Will you please put Minot Forest back on
we-
the
we
plate?
put 'em-
Why does it have to go so deep?
We put in recharge
We should
systems
not
all the
ignore
time. It's a big dig. It's a big hole.
Why does it have to,
I-
why does it have to be big, deep?
That's the way they're designed. They have to be a certain depth.
But I should think the
They have
higher
three-
they started out, the better they'd perk.
You need a certain square footage based on the
Square
gallonage
footage
you're
and its
putting in.
depth. Then it tells you how far down it goes, how much perking. Like a septic system is 4 to 5 feet. We may need 10 feet, so the criteria is a little bit
But I
different
mean, when they do a perk test, they only go down a couple of feet.
for a septic system. But this is what
Yeah,
we call,
oh, but
this is,
nothing but a big septic system.
yeah, but you're talking 1 million to 2 million, 3 million gallons daily come into it.
All the more to my point, the higher you start off, the better off you are.
Evaporation, there's a lot of factors that come into play, and I don't write the specs, but they're there. It's a major excavation. It's a major deal. It really is.
And I've asked Guy to put Minot Forest, the backside of Minot Forest, on that list. Yes, the town didn't seem to be too receptive, but if we have a moratorium,
well,
I
at the
believe
same-
they might change their
If you
mind.
remember, they weren't too receptive because the police station was gonna go there.
The front part of it.
The police station, as I understand it now, is back looking to Deacon's.
But you want to go there too.
Well,
But that's not high.
yeah, but there's more space there to deal with than,
Yes, but I don't want us to ignore the possibility of a ground discharge on the backside of that Minot property, town-owned land.
we could put it under
As
the
it's so
parking-
close to the plant, it would make an easy connection point.
We could put it under the parking lot at the new school.
That was the initial presentation.
And yeah, the town didn't seem too receptive because they had a strong group saying that's where that police station is gonna go. And as Jimmy said, it's still being discussed as to where the police, EMS, and fire departments will go.
I think they should put it on Robinwood Road.
I think the longer we discuss it, we don't have to do it. We should discuss another 5 years.
Well, they've done that, what,
Because
for
we love to
15 now?
discuss.
20 now?
We gum everything to death. Let's gum it
Oh,
until
absolutely. We're good
it
at
doesn't
that.
get done.
We're good at that.
It's crazy, but anyways, that's just one man's observation. No insult to anyone.
I got review and allocation of projects not acted on. We've got,
Okay, so that's a good, I'll address that.
Because I thought we were gonna say, you gotta do something within X amount of years or we withdraw. Need a magnifying glass.
I did that purposely because it makes you look hard. If I gotta read your glasses, you're gonna read yours. So, Mr. Chairman, I've been trying to contact those that we've given permission to. I'm also, the top page, I'll go over this, but the top page is a new queue. We've started a new queue. So, but we'll get to that. But, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have a list. So I started calling the individuals to see where their projects are, and I visited them. There's two that stand out that I'm working with. One is the Knapp. Mr. Knapp, we gave some capacity to, and he's done absolutely nothing in the past 2 to 3 years. I called the engineer and said that I'm going to suggest to the board tonight that we pull back that 1,000 gallons and reallocate it to a couple of folks that need short gallons. There's also a project that is on Sandwich Road, which was assisted living for 10,000. And I've called the attorney, and she said he's done nothing. I've called the engineer, and I says, well, you can speak to him, because I don't have his number, but tell him that if I don't hear from him and he doesn't do anything, we're gonna pull
which
his
list are you
gallons.
looking at here, Guy, or are you?
I think he's looking at the second page.
So, these are the things that the assisted living is the one that I called, that's Mannix project. I told the engineer and the attorney that we're gonna pull those gallons because he's done absolutely nothing
Where is that, please?
on Sandwich Road.
Do you
Right
know
up the
where-
road from the treatment plant.
3/4.
Got it here.
Oh, okay.
You know where there was a yellow building that has black painted windows because of a fire or something, there, just close to the intersection where Route 6 Sandwich Road comes into 28.
By Upper Cape Realty,
Oh, right up by the
okay.
plant.
yes.
Yes,
Oh, okay, all right.
because he would have to
That
put
was
a,
gonna be assisted living?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
three-story.
Oh, it's gonna be a huge project. It's
Big.
four
I
four
thought it got
stories?
I
Okay.
thought,
Got
well, the
approved.
fourth would be a solarium.
It got
And
approved.
that was the issue with planning, because it was gonna be so tall. But they were going to put a line from there to the plant.
That's correct.
Their cost.
It's approved project, and we've approved the gallons. The gallons were actually approved before us and the selectmen, and they reapproved, we have reapproved because they came back to us. But he's done nothing, absolutely nothing. So,
When was that they came to us?
last year. It's been a year. He's done absolutely nothing.
So it's been a full year and
It has.
nothing's,
That's right. So I called him and said that if he didn't do anything or get back to us ASAP, then I'm gonna recommend the board pull those gallons.
Yep.
Put them back into those that need it. The NAP, which isn't on this capacity limit, because she forgot to put that on, but the NAP project, which I have over here, which was in our original plan, you'll see the NAP project had 1,000 gallons on it. I think it was 1,320 gallons. I talked to their engineer and told them I'm pulling those gallons. I'm gonna recommend to the board we pull those gallons.
Sorry, is it on this list? It's not
No,
on
I
this
got,
list.
we didn't put on this list, because to be frank
Sorry,
with you,
I'm trying to find that document.
no, this NAP is on, but the assisted living's on this list.
Yes.
The NAP was on original approval of all our last queue.
Oh, so that's out of the draft that we got from GHD at the last meeting.
Yeah, so NAP is on that one. Tom Knapp, the project, that's on Sandwich Road across from the EMS building.
Okay.
And he's done nothing in 3 years. I mean, absolutely nothing. So I'm suggesting that we take back them gallons, and if he ever decides to do something, he can reapply.
That's the one that's got the fence around it.
Yes.
Can we legally take them back? Do we have a
We have a
process?
policy that says if they don't do it in a year, we can take it back.
Okay, then good.
We put a policy in over a year ago on that basis,
I was
that if they
just-
didn't,
I was just testing your memory,
We
that's
did.
all.
We did, that's what we did, so, I mean,
my
so,
memory is fine, it's the retrieval that's bad.
Yeah.
it's, the problem is that we've got projects that are coming forward that would like, as an example, I get a call from a guy, I should put Woodbury, 110 gallons. So we have a moratorium. So I got a guy calls me, he bought a house, he's got a young family, he wants to put a third bedroom. I tell him he can't. So what do you mean I can't? We got a moratorium. Well, it's only 110 gallons. Sir, I don't care if it's a gallon, we have a moratorium. Have a guy sitting on 1,000 gallons, 1,300 gallons, doing nothing with it. So I would suggest we pull back to 13, he can have his 110. Kind of makes sense to me, it's pretty straightforward in my thinking. I've got another one that's, this one really is crazy, but this is on I think it's, did I put it here? Because she may not have. That's on, it's 211 Onset Avenue. If you look in the back of the packet, there's a description, there's an actual 4 letters of people asking me for gallons. Like Woodbury, he needs 110, he's entering to PNS, he's got a family, and so that's that. And then you got the narrative for 211 Onset Ave, it's got an existing commercial building, they want to turn it into apartments, but they're short 40 gallons. So they need 40 gallons to complete the project. I told them, no, because we have a moratorium. I'd like to give them their 40 gallons, they're ready to go. They even applied for a building permit.
I thought Aspen Dental was up and running.
It is. Is it
So
on here?
It's on the queue for 6,000.
Yeah, so we've got to,
To me,
again,
if it's done and implemented, it's no
Should be on
longer
the
in the queue.
I can't take it off until I see the gallons, because remember, Aspen Dental represents the whole, which is, they just did Chipotle, and they've got one more,
It's those three sites, not just Aspen
That's right,
Dental.
it's
It's
the
the three.
sites,
So
that's
it's
right.
Starbucks and Chipotle.
Starbucks, Chipotle, and now they have
To
one.
an empty one. Okay,
Yeah, so I really want to leave that, even
So-
though it's not total, leave that till we're done. You know, if that makes sense.
So that should be highlighted that we're waiting for flow definition.
Yes, we are, so that's why I don't want to stop.
Excuse me. On this list that you've got here, which items haven't been acted on, and should we consider pulling the gallonage off.
The two I talked, the one that's not on here, only one on here is the, on this one.
Assisted living?
Assisted living, the 10,140.
And
Yeah.
Tom Knapp, for
Tom Knapp should come off too.
1,030.
Yeah, we never put him on, because I told him we're gonna ask you to pull it, so she didn't put it on, but Tom Knapp should be pulled too, so
And
which is 1,320.
Okay, and Woodbury is a request coming in, is that correct?
That is correct. Woodbury on the back
Oh.
is 4.
Okay, and some of,
Woodbury, which is Woodbury,
that's the one that we're talking about, just as adding a bedroom?
yes.
But-
And then we've got 211 Onset Ave that wants 40 gallons to convert their residential to a
Okay.
commercial to residential, a
So-
40 gallon
So
net.
if we pull the assisted living one, you've got enough to,
10,000.
More than enough.
for the, to
I'm going to ask,
cover this.
the capacity limit, those are what's on the queue. Why is Woodbury on here since it's not in the queue?
It's on the new, look at the,
No, we've not approved Woodbury. so
we haven't, we're gonna ask for this to be
the
approved.
Woodbury needs
Yes.
to be removed from this list. From this list. This is the queue list. This
That's
is
right.
approved,
This is
not
the-
implemented.
Right, and she put it, I told her to put it on this list, it ended up on this list, and I know,
It
but,
can't be in both places. It's not, so it has to be removed from this queue list. Woodbury.
well, let me explain. So,
fine.
once you, yeah, you're right. So we can cross it out, then once it's approved, I'll write it back in.
Yes, but right now, it is not in our, it's not
It's not.
approved, so Woodbury needs to come off that list.
Should have had, I would, instead of coming out, I'd put a asterisk next to it.
No, I don't want it on it. We
Then
haven't
take it off.
approved it.
Take it off. And
Because
then-
the Tremont Nail, the 12 Roadway Ave, the Woodbury, the 211 Onset, 4 Tow Road should not be on our queue list, because none of it's been approved.
So that, here's your cue, we're gonna ask you to approve that. I get
That
it,
is a pending review list. That front page is pending,
I get it,
okay?
I get it.
But everything else on that second page has been approved, which means 12
Railroad,
Railroad Ave house also has to come off.
it does. We're gonna ask you to approve
That's not been
that.
approved.
Yeah, I have asterisks on mine, but go ahead.
I don't know, so we're just removed 440
I'm
from our
getting-
list.
I'm getting confused too.
Yeah,
all right.
it's-
So I gotta go
Yeah,
back
I
to
have
the
no
other
idea what you're
sheet.
talking about.
So you're saying take 12 Railroad off?
We
Yeah.
haven't approved it.
Yeah,
Okay, it's not
Yeah.
approved, so it's gonna be, it shouldn't even be in
So
here.
let me ask you a
Correct.
question. Let me ask you a question. Why don't we look at the queue first and see if we're gonna approve it?
Yeah,
And
exactly,
then this becomes moot.
absolutely.
So I would suggest to the board, here's your queue, your new queue.
That's the first page.
Can we accept the queue?
The answer is no. We have a moratorium, no additions. And
These are in queue. The queue means
Queue,
that they're
yes.
gonna,
Yes, we
they're
can accept
setting.
them, it's
Yes,
in the
we
queue.
can.
We can
Yes, we
accept the
can.
queue.
this list is incorrect.
Yes.
Yes.
This list
The
is correct.
second page of the queues is incorrect.
We're
Right.
talking about the
This is
first
correct.
page.
The fir-
This list is
The
correct.
front page is correct because those are people who've asked for and have not received approval.
Correct.
Right, and so we
Correct.
put them on a queue. So all I'm saying is that we started a queue. This is the new queue. Do we accept the queue? If we accept the queue, then we can move on.
If they're all
Because
in
that's
in
why
the
our
right,
second page
if they're
was-
in the right chronological order, yeah,
Yes, they are.
yeah.
So if we accept it, then the second page becomes more relevant. That's all I'm saying.
Yep,
This is
yep.
the order that we presented it, that we're
I
presenting.
understand.
So of these five projects
Mm-hmm.
presented to us on June 8th, 22, which is the date on it.
Mm-hmm.
But how can we handle something that has an unknown gallon amount request?
We can't, so that one, we're just gonna leave it. We're not gonna get,
So we're not approving the whole list. So of the list,
no, we're gonna leave it in the
Can
queue.
approve
We're
the
not,
whole list.
we're approving the queue, but we don't have to give it gallons, because we don't know what to give it.
so the total queued gallons equals 19,000 is incorrect.
You are correct.
So we have to remove that because we don't know the total
I'm gonna
gallons.
tell you the Q, I can tell you the Q gallons, if you remove the unknown, we don't know. So let's look at the 330, the 110, the 40, and the 19,000 cubic feet is not gallons per day, it's 280 gallons per day. And that's why she's got 19,000, because she said it meant, it's not 19,000, it's 280 gallons. If you take the math of the 19,000 cubic feet, so it's 280 gallons per day. That's the real number.
Okay, so in this 19,000 total queue, I have I have a daily number and I have an annual number adding up to 19,000. I should be adding the same type of water usage. If
Yeah, so
it's
take the
daily, it's
19
daily. It's not 19,000 per day.
So take the 19,000, cross it out. It means absolutely nothing. Get rid of it.
Okay,
Get rid of it. So in the place of, if you look number 5, Fort Tor Road is a car wash.
yes,
They're saying that their water use is 19,000 cubic feet a year.
okay.
So you do the math, and it comes out to 280 gallons per day. So gallons is 280 per day. So you take out 19,000, put 280, which I
Okay.
did.
So
So
we're
now your queue is 330,
Guys,
110, 40, and 280.
Okay, wait a minute, that's, I was,
Make sense?
you got 190,
How many on Onset Ave, 211 Onset Ave?
40,
Oh, just 40 gallons?
40 gallons.
Okay. So you get okay, so you get,
something's,
19,000 cubic feet per year.
So that's 760 gallons per day on the queue,
Yes, that's what it is.
if I did my math right.
What did I get? My math is probably not any better than yours, but my math says, I get 760, but that's right.
Then that's what yeah, 760
That's
per
what I
day.
got, 760.
how many gallons in a
Okay.
cubic foot of water? 9? 3?
I think it's like 600 or something like that. I don't have it in front of me. What Google, say, Siri,
Oh, a cubic foot?
yeah, say, Siri, how many gallons in 19,000 cubic feet? She'll tell you the answer.
Now, if I look at the Tremont Nail, what is the current allocation for that site?
0, because they haven't developed any gallons.
So they're not, but aren't they connected to sewer?
So
They have
they are,
bathrooms.
but they're using nothing.
But how much are in the queue for? Don't we have an idea of, at some time, they were being allocated how many gallons per day? They just not using it?
When that was online, they used the metal building and it pumped occasionally. We were lucky if
Okay,
they
so-
did 30 gallons a day. It was not being used.
So they're not included in any of our numbers of current sewer flow?
Nothing,
Okay,
nothing. So we don't have, so they're trying to do a development there, and we have no concept what those gallons are, so we can't approve it, but it'll leave it in the queue.
are we putting them in the queue?
I just left them there because the town is in the middle of doing something, and so they've asked us before we put it in the queue. They presented, I think last year, or the year before, some plan, then it didn't peter out or something.
This is so up in the air.
why
What, Tremont? I have no idea what's gonna happen.
should we put anything in the queue if we don't have an amount?
Yeah, we just put, because the town asked, we can take it out, we can
It's a
take it out
placeholder really for them.
for them.
Why give them a place, should they
don't know.
come to us with a plan? I'm just asking,
You don't have anybody running the place yet to do it.
running what place?
Tremont Nail.
Oh, yeah, but, okay.
Well,
Because they're gonna do a project
No
there.
plan for
But
it
the
yet.
point that Donna's making.
I don't know the politics, but Donna's right.
Yeah,
There's no design.
yeah.
No, there's
nothing.
nothing. There's no operator, there's no nothing.
Why are
However-
we talking about putting them on any list?
However, keep in mind that they've rented out one building for marijuana.
Hey, what?
They rented out a building for a marijuana production plant in the metal building. That's gonna be gallons. They rented it out. We have proved nothing, but they rented it out.
Well,
So it's on the queue so we can vet what's really gonna happen.
what's the point of having a queue and having people on it if you can't, if you don't know, it's an unknown. I just
It
don't
is.
understand.
It is.
I'm trying to
Who rented
understand
it
this. Huh?
I'm sorry?
Who rented it out?
The town.
Town.
Redevelopment Authority.
They rented it out to a group, and they've signed a lease, to my understanding.
Is that the same town?
Yes, the same town. But
So
the,
these people more or less knew there was a moratorium?
no, they
yet
did
they
it
rented
quite a while
out
ago,
Space.
It was rented
quite a while ago,
months and months ago, before
Quite
the
a while ago.
moratorium.
yes.
Well, you know what, I think, it says here that they, they're requesting, at what point, what is the the point of having gallons requested on 513 just to get into the queue?
Yep.
I mean, you shouldn't be able to get into the queue unless you have a known factor. You shouldn't even be in the queue, in my opinion. That's like approving in a project, but, yeah, we'll put you in the queue, but we don't know what you want or what you need, but we're gonna put you in there. And you're gonna have you're gonna have a date ahead of these other people, and you have, there's no certainty there.
Donna, I'm looking to these gallons, that's 700 gallon, I'm looking to approve those. I'm not looking for, even though they're number one on the list, I'm not looking to approve any gallons. So they can stay on this queue all they want, but we have to give them gallons until they come forward. If there's no gallons to give them at that point in time, they get nothing. But here's the dilemma we're in. They have rented the building out, they entered into a contract.
We are not.
We didn't, but the town has. So we have to tell the town, no, you can't do this. And then they're gonna say,
But
but
that
we
metal
rent,
butt building had been used.
had been used.
So there had been some gallons allocated
About 30
to,
gallons a day max.
so how do we know if this is a manufacturing site or is this a growing site? If it's a
don't
growing
know. They
site, do they discharge water or reuse it? So the question is,
It's gonna be marijuana.
how much water comes out of trade winds?
Trade winds? Trade winds. Is that the one in the mall?
Yeah, no, that's the one in the industrial park.
The industrial park, yes, you're right. They do, I can give you a number, they do about 2,000 gallons a day.
Okay,
Um,
sorry.
For the Tremont site, when it was active,
About 30 gallons a day, because there was
That's
nothing. Yeah, because there's nothing, they used the building for storage. That's it.
The metal building.
Metal building, just for storage.
for the entire site.
The entire site was not used. They have an office building that hasn't been used in years. Really, nothing's been used. There's really been no,
But it was used
Other than
since the
infiltration.
plant went in, correct?
yeah, so it was very minimal use there always, because they used to rent that building out to the marina, right, to the boat
Yeah,
shop.
but no, we're
So
talking
there's
when
no-
there was a manufacturing site and the bathrooms
Correct.
on the site were
I have
being
no idea.
used. And let me see, when did the town buy Tremont Nail? 2004, 2005? And 6 months after we bought it, they walked away and stopped doing anything there. So it's really been no flow at all for, God, a long time.
I don't have a
Is that
number.
what you're looking for?
But there's a number.
Guy,
Where is it?
Because,
I don't have a number.
okay,
We can,
good enough.
when did that actually come online with the town? You know?
I think the town purchased it around,
No, when did they had flow coming into the town
oh yeah,
before the town purchased it.
Biff and
But it
the
wasn't-
Tremont
It
Nail.
wasn't that much.
And the Mill Pond Diner.
Back in the 70s, right?
Mill Pond, I think it was a little later than that, but
No.
Mill Pond Diner and Tremont
The
Nail,
90s, late 90s.
yeah, I was gonna say 90s. They colluded and they put this in.
Mid-90s, late 90s.
But, well, as I'm saying is I don't have those numbers.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying, they haven't been a participatory in the system
For a long time.
for that long a time, and then they've been 50% participatory from what they were. I'm gonna just use that as an arbitrary percentage, because the diner is still functioning into it, but Tremont Nail isn't.
That's right, and it's,
So you've got
and
those other few houses in there that function into it as well, but,
that's owned by Elm Street,
yeah, that's minor.
that's who
Yeah.
owns that. So
Right.
they're, and the diner, they all get together and that's their
Right.
gallons. The town side has been pretty, non-used for many years.
Right.
The biggest thing we get there is for infiltration.
Yeah,
Because
I was gonna say,
it
because
leaks like a sieve, so that's the biggest
Since the
thing.
town
we
bought
pump.
it, it really hasn't been used.
Okay, before we vacate this guy, can you just briefly go through
The next page.
this list and what you want to pull back so I can mark it? It should have been highlighted.
So the only thing on the next page I'd like to pull back is assisted living, 10,140 gallons.
Yep,
I'll go through them all.
yep.
Where
If-
is this at? The assisted
This
living?
list.
We
This
just
list
talked
down.
about it. It's
Sandwich-
the one on the
Sandwich Road.
corner, Route 6 and
You
28.
don't have any.
That's right, okay, yeah.
We just got the.
So 12 Railroad is not on. 14 Tremont is done. That was the property owned by the
I just want the
Tina
ones
Davis
you want to
property.
pull.
The only one that we're going to pull is 10,140 gallons assisted living.
Yep. That's it?
I would add to this list the KNAP project on Sandwich Road of 1,320 gallons.
Nap?
Yes, KNAPP,
2P.
1,320 gallons. So that would be a total of 11,000.
Sorry. I'm going, in the GAF draft, we were given a
first-
list of all the pending projects that we queued. This is where NAP shows. It does not show on this list.
That's why I said write it in.
So it got confusing.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Write in NAP. Add NAP
put
in
it in.
1,320 gallons. So those are the two.
What are the dates of when they,
Assisted living's been around about 6 years,
6
maybe a little
years?
longer. And NAP's been around for 3 years,
Okay,
and they've done nothing with it.
it's well within, all right.
I believe it's well within our
Well, we have,
Year.
what was it, the 1 year?
1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if there's circumstances where you at least have an active permit, we'll review it, right?
Right, and so I asked them.
Permits, a building permit's good for 2.
The way we had it set up was that, it was good for a year if they hadn't started within that year and there was a reason that they hadn't, if they came
Right,
before us, we would
but we were
extend it.
still looking for an active permit.
Yeah,
Correct.
Okay. I just want to be consistent.
No,
so you're basically looking at
Okay.
1,100 and,
11,460 gallons.
All right, so you're going to send out a registered letter, or
I will, because once it's approved. I called these folks and told them what we're going to do, to give an opportunity.
with a
to act.
copy of the policy? Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Okay.
sorry, Guy, there's something called a Chapel Lane for 1,920, but it's not on your queue list.
I don't know.
Chapel Lane's been approved.
It's approved, yeah.
Okay.
can I ask a question?
go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Guy, what happened to the flow, was there a flow, did they have storage down at Forest View? I mean, that's closed up now.
I have no idea. I haven't even reviewed that.
It's not on the
Because-
sewer
Are
line.
they connected?
It's
They were.
not on the sewer line? Oh,
They were.
okay.
So I can't take it away, because again, it's an active account, because they're still doing things there.
What line do they connect, where do they connect? On Minot Ave?
Yes, to the Force Main. They have a pump station.
If there's a stub there, and
I
they
can't
can't
touch
take
it.
it away.
I'm not taking it away. I can't take it away.
Sorry,
it's
it
now-
is on sewer.
Okay, I'm sorry.
90% vacant?
Yeah, something like that. But suppose tomorrow they make it, so if I pull gallons and tomorrow they make it full, what it was, then I'm in trouble. So I'm going to leave it like it is until there's a
Got to.
disposition.
You've got to at this point, because that's up for sale right now, and it's been
I can't touch
various
it.
discussions on what it was gonna be used for,
Yeah, okay.
and it was all gonna require
Well,
flow.
how long do you give them to do something with it?
Well, it's an active
I'll tell you, I
connection.
don't
Why
think
not have the same policy if they don't do something in a year? We take that back.
No, they're connected,
that's a
because they're connected. They're
can't.
connected.
Get
They
connected.
really are
Can't
connected.
do that, that infrastructure's in.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that was just,
We can't do that? We
Ja-
just have
No,
to let
that's
it
a-
sit there?
Yeah, we do that with a lot of things that are active. They just, like in the mall, if there's, in the industrial park, there's a building that has gallons, and the company moves out, and it's vacant, we give them time to re-advertise, do their thing, may take a year or
We
two.
know how we got burnt on that.
I didn't want to go there. So,
I mean, you could maybe reduce it if they knocked it down and put a house in.
then we would reduce it, because then we'd do a net,
You
we'd balance
can't.
it. Yes, but
You
until that
can't-
time,
You can't take it back, it's all
I
set
agree.
now.
I agree.
That'd be a nightmare.
Absolutely.
So what I'm asking of the board is to grant me permission to send letters out to these two assisted living and NAP that we're pulling back their gallons, and they have a right to reapply at a later date,
Okay, could I get a
because they
mo,
haven't used it, and I'll send the policy.
could I get a motion on Tom Knapp, 1,320
Can
gallons?
I ask a question before we do that?
Yep,
You want to give them 30 days to reply?
I don't care.
Whatever you want, whatever the board
send
thinks
them a
is.
certified letter?
Well, let's get the
I
motion, let's
agree
get the
with
motion,
taking it
let's
back,
get the
but-
motion.
Well, I want
Let's get the motion, then we'll see what goes into the motion. On motion for taking back the 1,320 gallons on Tom Knapp, and 10,140 gallons on assisted living. To receive a letter from us,
Registered return receipt
right, and 30-day
to respond.
to respond.
Right.
Does that have to be a registered letter?
It should be.
It's,
That
Must
covers
be.
our
it's,
ass.
yeah.
Definitely.
It has to be.
Definitely.
Need that in the motion?
No. I don't know, do you want that in the
It's
motion,
there.
Sandy?
Yes, please.
Put it in there. Okay, do I have that motion?
Second.
Okay. I guess I made it then.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Okay. Guy, I'm having a little problem reconciling, sorry, the April 2022 Project Q list from the draft motion, from the draft GHD letter to this list. I can't, in the GHD report, it talked about how many gallons we've queued and not used. It doesn't match the gallons in the capacity limit on the list you just gave me, and I thought it should match.
No.
Well, I suppose you're right. One was 240, one is 253, then I look at this as 246. Yeah, they're all in the
I
ballpark.
have something called a 52 Main Street. What in the world is that?
It's on 52 Main Street.
But I don't see it in the queue, in the capacity limit.
Wouldn't it
list.
say Warren Project?
That's 5250 on one and 5,000 on another. Then I've got 76 Main Street, which is not on the queue list.
Where's 76 Main Street? Is that 76? I thought we have 176.
Now, there's a 170.
I'm telling you, I got a disconnect between what was in a report that we used to say a moratorium and this capacity limit that you've just provided us.
No, the 176 Main Street is always, let me just make sure, because I might have called it something different.
It could be 76 Main Street, is
No,
that?
it's I don't know of a 76 Main Street.
Well, then someone needs to look at Russ's report.
Where's 76 Main Street? Let me see.
Yeah,
And which
170.
one report you talking about?
We've got
one that-
176.
176 is what I got, but I don't remember
The
seeing
gallon amount on
76.
Russell's report,
How many
It's-
gallons have you got on 76?
3,500.
and it's 176. That's a
176.
typo.
That's a-
So it's
176.
176,
Yeah.
so
That's just-
Russ's report
that's all.
needs to be corrected. Now, the Aspen Dental isn't even listed on the table Russ provided us.
Yeah, it's under Robinson's, I think he put on the Robertson's Plaza Delta Dental, if I remember correctly.
No, it's not there. But I have something called 52 Main Street that's in for 5,000 gallons.
Yeah, that's the Warren Project 52, actually
Okay,
5,250, I think he rounded
Tower
it.
Terrace, it's not on Russ's list. Oh, tie property to sewer with no capacity,
Yeah,
okay.
so that's,
And that, so Warren's property's got to be the 52 Main.
I think it's just,
High Street duplexes, 1,760 is not on the master list provided.
I'm sorry?
GHD, High Street duplexes, 1,760.
Wasn't, those are
On
the,
here,
those are Nazis because they were after the fact. I think when he does this,
It's on the queue, it's on the capacity limit,
I get that because we got it after Russ did his.
but I don't see 108 Main Street listed.
.431, and I think she just put High Street. Let me just look at this again, because I don't think she knew. She put High Street duplexes,
duplexes.
which is 108. Then she's got
Okay,
434 Main
So the High Street
Street.
duplexes is 108.
Yes.
So she does not, so what's not on here is Nazi's property between High Street and Main Street. Or is that the 430?
That's 434 Main Street.
yeah,
Okay,
that's a Main Street
all right.
property.
I'm just trying to reconcile between two lists that we have, and, okay.
Two. You got about
Well,
20
we got
at this point.
about 5, I got about 6. So I got more than 2.
Well, you know, what's your definition of the word queue?
Q?
Queue.
Q means it's in the queue. So what we're suggesting the queue is that
It's in
you
line.
can send a letter.
A list.
It's a list, just a list.
Okay. Well,
It's in line.
Having 3 queues isn't doing us much good.
We only
Let's
have-
get a
You've
we
only
have
got
no
for
queues.
who's
You've only got one
requesting
queue.
and a queue who has been denied, or who's waiting to get on the good list, the bad list, whatever you want to call the queue.
So all these other numbers that Sandy mentioned,
line
that's on
when
this,
you're in queue.
they
You're
have been
waiting.
approved. They're no longer in a queue.
I'm the head of the queue list.
There's no more queue. We have, so as of this moment, there's no queue. These are approved gallons. They're not a queue, they're pure approved
Let's have an
gallons.
approved list and a request list.
So that's-
Stop with this queue.
Q is
We don't have a queue.
is the
It's
request.
too broad.
Q is the
So,
request.
this thing
Period.
called
That's all it is.
capacity limit,
Yes.
Q's a list.
so
It's the
this
request.
thing called the capacity limit has, the second page, has all been approved by us.
Approved.
And is work in progress. It's
Correct.
not been implemented.
It's not a queue.
Would work. Approved
Correct.
prior to
So
moratorium.
this is a request
List.
list?
No, the second page capacity limit has been approved, but not implemented.
It's all approved because it's from
There's
220
your
and
request
221.
list.
So I want Peter to look at the second page only. This has been approved, but not implemented. This is pending hookup.
So this is an approved list.
This is an approved list. Capacity limit is an approved list.
See how much easier it is to use little words?
Okay, on the,
I'm not going to disagree with you.
on the request list that we have, we need to get a motion
Yes.
on that.
I would like to accept 2, 3, 4, 5 on the queue list.
Okay,
Report on the queue.
a clarification, Guy.
Is that the request list?
Is that the
Hold it,
approved?
hold it, hold it, hold it. Let me get this so that we're on the same page with this. The tow road, 19,053 cubic feet of water. That's 142,526 gallons we're talking
Per
about.
year.
Divided by 365 to give you per day.
So we're saying 280 gallons per day.
Is that what it comes out to?
Yeah,
Yeah.
365 days
Okay.
divided by, so it's 280 gallons. So,
This Tremont thing's on the list, guy,
yes,
and
and
they're saying 50 to 60 units of housing.
they say all kinds of
What?
things. They don't know what they're doing. So
But that's all we have, 60 units of housing per Title V is what?
Yes, well, that's a lot.
I know.
And plus, they're saying they want to do a marijuana facility. They talked about a brewery. They talked about a pub. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. So it's unknown, to reality, it's unknown gallons.
I think
If we want to remove it from the queue, then remove it. I don't have a problem with it. And let them come to us and for approval of gallons, I don't have a problem. But I left it in the
Well-
queue is so we know it's out there.
Did they have an application with you that says unknown?
So who'd you get this
Mac, I
request from?
think the only
I got it
thing,
from
the
the
only
town
thing we
planner.
know, the only thing we know about Tremont Nail at the present time is that they have a company that is going to come in and manage
Is
it.
it Bentley? No. Bentley?
I don't know.
Okay, so
That's all we know.
the other four
We
are
also-
applicants?
Yes, the other four are applicants for flow, and they're all minimal flow, but I don't have minimal gallons to give them.
So Jimmy, will you do us a favor?
Yep.
Talk to Derek about this.
I will, I mean,
Before we do
because
anything
that's
with
on
it.
my, that's on my list right here to go.
It's kind of like been handed to us, and we can't do anything with it.
Right,
So if you want to do the right thing, I guess we got to talk to him.
yeah.
You gotta have an application in to be on the list.
For the Tremont Nail,
Unless
yes.
we have a wannabe list, a wish list.
Well, Tremont Nail, I've talked to a gentleman called me from Tremont Nail Metal Building and said that he's got a lease to put in a marijuana factory. I asked him for the gallons, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
He hasn't got back to me,
Yeah.
so I have no clue. And that would be the gallons, but we know something's gonna happen in
Don't
that
have an
project.
application, though.
But I have nothing that's, speaks to gallons. I don't know what the flow's gonna be.
Guy,
I get it.
unless I'm wrong, I thought I understood that the company that they've given the contract to for managing, developing, or whatever, is for the whole of that property, not just the Tremont Neal building.
I think it's for the whole of the properties,
So
other
whatever's
than
gonna
the
go in
metal
there, we
building.
have no idea, because there's no marijuana in there right now.
I think the metal building is separate. They leased the metal building for marijuana. I don't have them gallons yet. I talked to the people doing it, and I'm waiting for them to give me gallons.
Okay,
So that's all I know, and but all the other gallons, I can't give you a
so
clue.
basically, Tremont Nail is off the table.
Yeah, I
They
would
come back
suggest.
to us with something, I'll talk to Derek and see what.
Yeah, you better talk to them,
Now, if,
because it's just gonna get worse.
Don't give them the 30 gallons,
How come?
because it's on the queue.
But they don't want 30.
but if we have a moratorium, we haven't
Let's
said
finish-
anything about,
Let's finish the ones that we're gonna approve here,
I'm not willing to put them on the queue yet,
okay? And why is that?
because we said there's a moratorium. There's nothing in the moratorium said we can hook up if we release somebody else. We haven't released anybody else.
We haven't yet, but we can approve these based on the ones we're withdrawing. If,
Ah,
Oh, no, I wouldn't do that yet.
That's,
No,
that's
I-
putting
I-
the cart before the horse.
all right,
I get that, but here's my point. We said before, here's the deal. If we have a queue, people apply, we don't get many gallons, but they're on the list. If we get gallons, then we go by the queue.
Correct.
First come, first serve.
but we don't
That's
have,
all the
we
queue
don't
is.
have gallons yet.
We don't, but when
Okay,
we
so-
have them, we'll give them to them.
Then when we have them, we'll look at the queue list.
We don't have a queue because it's not approved. So I'm trying to prove, see, these four individuals are on the list. They said, can we be on the list?
Right, so I
Well,
make.
yes, put 'em on the list.
I would make a motion, we approve 2 through 5. 2, 3, 4, and 5.
do I have a second?
Night.
No, not till for 30 days, because we don't have the gallons.
It doesn't mean they're getting it
Doesn't mean they get
till
anything.
we, it means they'll get it when we have it.
That's all it means.
Let's say
They're
that,
in line.
We have to make a motion for that then.
so, 'cause my point is, let's say they revise, the ones we send out, they revise it, and it turns out there's 100 gallons left over. Who do we give it to? We go by the queue.
Yeah.
That's all the queue is that's a list of folks I would like to have, and that's how we did the last set. We had a queue, then 6 months later, we said, okay, we're gonna give everybody in the
What if
queue.
the top name on the queue is 400 gallons?
We're not
Then
going
he
by
can't
the
get it.
top
I get
man.
it,
So
it's
you're
not
gonna go down,
available.
just a second. So you're gonna go down to number 7, because they're only looking for 100.
20 gallons, yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
But it's a list, it's something that we can,
So this queue isn't based on first come, first serve, it's based on gallons.
it's first come, first serve, providing the capacities there. So let's say you ask for 1,000,000 gallons, you apply first for 1,000,000 gallons. You may never get it because we don't have 1,000,000 gallons. Jim applies for 100 gallons, he
I
can
just
get
said
it.
the same thing.
That's all I'm saying, yes, it makes sense. I said, yes, what I said, yes, I agree.
Well,
It is first come, first serve, providing you meet the criteria for the gallons that come up.
Provided you only want a little.
But
Yes,
if- yeah,
that's all we have is a little,
You can have a raise, but only a nickel.
only a nickel.
So the queue really, the date doesn't matter, it's just the gallons that matter.
Let's say tomorrow we have 10,000 gallons, then it matters, because we can satisfy everybody. We'll go right down the list first. Let's say we only have 700 gallons. We go down the list, then the last guy's out because he doesn't get it. So, but if we only have 10 gallons, we go down the list, one guy wants 10, the rest want 100, we can make a decision to tell the guys, wait for others, or give it to the guy that wants 10 gallons. We can
Well,
cross
they
that bridge
can't
when we come
wait
to
for
it.
others until,
Yes.
if the guy, the big guy
Can't
is never
wait.
gonna get his,
That's, well,
he's never gonna get anything because we keep
don't
giving the
have it.
little stuff away.
because we don't have it. We don't have it.
no,
We don't have it for the big guy.
I go back
But if
to our
we follow,
moratorium.
if we do it that way, and Tremont Nail comes in here and looks for 30 gallons, and we give it to them, they can hook up their 800.
No.
Because
And
the
we'd
pipe
never
is
know.
already there, and the town leased them the property.
I get it. You know, this whole thing, what troubles me is I look at the paper, and there's duplexes and bedrooms and things happening every day approved by the town, they're going on. I know we sent a letter to Derek, I seen it in the package, so Derek should already be on the page, it should have, and I guess it went to some other departments, but nobody knows. I called the zoning today, because I'm reading that the 22nd, they're gonna give another 4-bedroom apartment. I says, hey, time out, guys. I don't have capacity. Really? Yeah. You need to put on your list, if you're gonna approve something, you better say, providing this capacity of the sewer, we approve it subject to the sewer, because, oh, we didn't know that.
Oh, come on.
Well, I'm serious.
Buckland's
you
in
serious?
charge of those committees. Buckland has zoning, planning, and
has
conservation.
he told them?
Are you telling me that Buckland doesn't share that information with zoning, planning, or conservation?
All I'm telling you is zoning said they did not know.
Who's zoning? The chair? Nazi?
The clerk. The clerk is the one that does all this paper. He has no clue. The board doesn't know. They had a meeting last night,
I can't-
approved things, they have no clue.
I can
Then
believe
I-
it.
Didn't
I
they
can
get-
believe it.
And the issue is
Get
with Mr.
notification?
Buckland.
Yeah.
So that's my point. So I told him, he says, okay, listen,
We'll try to get this
Is it
in.
really that dysfunctional?
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Have you signed one, or been offered to sign one building permit yet that included
I
sewer?
have to sign them all, but sometime, to be frank with you, I can show you where it says
You're
sewer
not signing
approval,
anything that's not on
sewer
here.
approval not needed.
But I'm going to be clear, the 108 Main Street, which was approved at zoning last night, is on our list as being approved.
We proved it. That,
Yes,
I'm not
so I
talking
mean,
about.
I don't want you to say that they didn't know, because when they did the 2 duplexes at 108 Main Street, it's already in our queue.
When they did 108, we approved the projects irregardless of queues. There was a
Yes,
separate.
it's been done some time ago.
Yes, and so we did it.
Okay.
When they did the approval for Nazi's projects, there was no moratorium, there was, but no, there was, we just put it into effect, but it didn't affect him, because it was before the
It was
fact.
already in the queue,
So
so
he's already approved, not Q,
Right.
approved.
So,
There's the- and
I just
so-
don't want people to think that zoning approved something without sewer approving the hookup, and we approved the hookup.
What I said was that there's a project coming on, it's on their agenda, I read it in the newspaper today. I called zoning to ask them about the moratorium and the projects they're gonna approve that I read in the paper. And they says, we know no knowledge of a moratorium.
I'm not aware of agenda coming up for zoning, they're 2 weeks away, they haven't got
No,
their
it's in the
agenda.
paper, they are not to advertise.
Okay, never mind.
So look, so
Another
anyways,
topic, sorry.
that's all I'm saying. They had no idea.
They're burying their head in the sand. They're just not,
Why do you think
I'm
they
sure
appointed
Nazi
us?
knows.
So that they have somebody
The
to take
chair
the blame.
knows.
In the permit, I got it last week, 13 South Boulevard is putting in
goddamn
4
paper.
apartments.
What the hell goes on over there?
13 South Boulevard.
South Boulevard, it's overlooking
Onset.
Onset, yes, overlooking Onset. Building was burnt out many years
The
ago.
right idea, sue the town.
Sandy, the saving grace is I looked at the history,
Or what?
and it had 6 units, so I can approve it. But it was already
How can zoning
approved.
and planning not know?
At zoning approved it. That's all I'm saying. It should be approval subject to
Kind of
sewer
thing we
approval.
wanted to avoid. I don't know.
Yeah, we did.
they're
Anyways.
trying to avoid, or hope to avoid.
I thought everybody was notified
They
by
have
it.
been. They have been.
It was a couple months ago, maybe 6 months ago. The chair of zoning, conservation, and planning got together and talked about it. And we were aware that, never mind.
Yeah, never
Trying
mind.
to share information so we're all on the same page. I don't know, that went away when the chair of planning changed. Okay, never mind, another topic.
I just like
I
to
thought there
get,
was a motion on the floor.
Motion on the floor for the Q. The approval of the, we have a motion for the approval of 2, 3, 4, and 5 from the Q. Now, just a clarification on that 19,053 cubic feet of water, that's a 390 gallons per day.
minus
Not 280?
28% because the car's taking it with them. So take away 28% of that number,
Even the
280
little,
gallons. Huh?
even the little cars?
Yeah, because they take it away, that's the EP rules. But they take it away, they drive it away.
Okay, so that
280
brings it
gallons.
down to basically 310 gallons a day.
The math, we did calcs, and it was 280. 310 works, doesn't matter what, 310's fine. I had 280, but we'll call it 310.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor for that. Do I have a second?
made the motion? What is,
Mac made the
I
motion.
did.
what is it?
To approve
And
it.
we put 2, 3, 4, and 5 in queue.
What does that mean?
On the approval list.
That they
They're,
were
they're on a
approved?
waiting list.
They're
They're on a
approved.
waiting list.
They're on the waiting
They're
list.
approved to be on the waiting list.
Second.
All in favor? Sandy?
No.
Mac?
Aye.
No.
Peter?
It's just not clear to me yet.
I'm lost. What are we at? You making a motion you don't support?
No, he made the
No.
motion.
No,
You
he
supported
made
it.
the motion, he supports it.
Yep.
I said
Sandy-
no.
And I said no.
Sandy says no.
I don't think we're ready to put the queue in yet. No, in the past, we've had these people come to us about why they want to be in the queue. I've heard nothing about these projects. I'm not willing right now to approve a queue list, or so you want to call it, a waiting list.
You want a policy to get on the waiting list?
No, no,
No.
not ready to do this tonight.
All right, now, okay.
Because I don't want the two, I want to see how much we can release from the two that we're going to ask to give up their gallons.
We're not releasing any of these.
No, I know that. I just don't want to do anything until I know what happens to the two projects we're asking to recover funds for. Because my concern is that we've said to the town and everybody, we have no additional flow. We are now going to,
Saying anything different
No,
with
but
this?
they're waiting for flow, and they've already got permits filed with sewer.
do they have permits?
I asked that question.
Do these four things have permits for sewer hookup?
The four in the queue?
Yes.
No. They've asked
I
for
asked that
gallons.
question.
You asked for permits?
If they were permitted, I did.
Yes.
No,
And I was
they do not have permits. What they have is, so as an example, 211 has already, it's tied into sewer already. They're changing it from a commercial to a residential, which means they need 40 more
Well,
gallons.
They need a permit with you, was my question.
Good.
So
Yes,
I
211 has a permit.
So there's no permits on any
No,
of
he
these?
just said
No,
211.
211 has a permit. It's in the permit process.
211 does?
Yes, it does. The matter of fact, he's already been approved to do the rehab. When
Okay, you said he's definitely approved.
He's approved through the building to do the rehab. He called me to sign off on the sewer. I said, no, I have a moratorium. I said, you could get on the queue when we have gallons, because we're going to review our present commitments, and those that aren't going to fulfill that commitment, we'll pull those gallons back, you'll be on a queue, we'll go down the list and start giving it to you. So you need 40 gallons. So maybe one day we'll have 40 gallons, so get in line.
So he's the only one with a permit with sewer department?
Yes, he doesn't have a permit with the sewer department, he has a permit with the town of Wareham. He has a building permit to do the work.
But there's no
okay.
permit
There's no
from the,
permit from us.
from the sewer
And
department
that's
yet.
what, that's
He's
what
already,
MAC
he's already connected to sewer. I just didn't sign off on this, it's already connected to
So,
sewer.
if
You
he
haven't
was-
signed off on the building permit.
If I don't sign off and he didn't tell me, we wouldn't have this conversation, he'd be connecting, and it'd be done. Mr. Lockwood, out of the courtesy, called me. I called him, and we conversed. I says, listen, I have a moratorium. He says, but I only need 40 gallons. I know, but it's a moratorium. I will suggest that I get you on a queue. Mr. Woodbury is buying a house. It's too small for his family. It isn't his budget, so he wants to add a bedroom. I said, it's beautiful, it's 110 gallons, but I don't have the 110 gallons for you. So I would suggest you get onto the queue. Again, we're reviewing commitments, and if somebody doesn't commit, we can give you your gallons. But I would suggest you call in to get on a queue. 12 Railroad, Clive's place, he wants to add his house to the sewer. Same thing, sounds great, very straightforward, how, because he's gonna connect it to his other property that's on sewer. His front property's on sewer. I said, that's great, but you gotta get in the queue, because I don't have the gallons to give you. Please suggest, get on the queue, send me a letter, and you got copies of the letter, get on the queue, and then when gallons become available, you'd be considered. Tow Road, same thing. He's part of the package, that's the gas station, Popeyes, and the third lot.
Yeah, well, let
We
me,
separate it for them,
let
and
me
this is the third
let me
part of it.
rephrase my question then.
Yes.
Do they have building permits?
Only one.
Well, that's the only one I'm interested in considering. Should I rephrase my,
Motion.
we should deny the first motion.
Right.
So,
We have
Draw
to,
the
we,
first,
Jimmy, will you take back
unless
your
in
second?
discussion I can rephrase it.
Jimmy, you'll take back your second?
yep.
Mac, you'll take back your motion?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now-
I will rescind the motion.
Okay.
I'd like to rephrase the motion. The
Rescind-
only one
yeah.
I'd like to consider is the one that has an active building permit, which is number 4 at this time,
Onset Ave.
because it
So
does
11 Onset Ave.
require Guy's review, and that was my point.
Okay,
That's the motion?
that's the motion?
That's
I
the
will
motion.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Okay,
So we have a queue with one person in it.
Right.
Until gallons becomes capacity, or until gallons become available, he cannot complete his work. He's got to wait for gallons to become available. I will get that to him.
So we
Because a
will get-
building permit has been approved.
we will,
It is, it's
we will
approved.
get the letters out to the two parties.
Yeah, and
Under
you know
consideration
what
right
it is,
now for
Guy,
going back.
it's really that you've got to be signing them, and that's my point. Even if it's an alteration, if there's any change in flow.
I agree. I agree.
And why they're saying not required is beyond me.
Well,
They're just not getting
yes,
it.
because sometimes they say change of use. What's the change of use? They're adding, yes, that's beyond
So if
me.
the others complain, maybe they'll get it.
Well, I can see why you get you'll get the non-required should be only from those people that are doing some expansions, because it's never been an issue in the past. And they've
Yeah,
already got-
I
and
can
they've already
understand
got a
why,
hookup.
but
I can
everybody
understand too, but
has been
now the game
notified.
has changed.
And
the rules
remember,
have changed.
everybody on this queue list is tied to sewer. They're just expanding what they're doing.
Yes.
They're already connected to sewer, they're expanding what they're doing.
Yeah.
So to expand, I'm saying get in the queue, so when the capacity comes available,
Well,
we can move forward, that's all.
12 Railroad Ave is already on sewer?
Yeah, everything, Clive owns 12 Railroad, he owns the properties around it, they're all on sewer, he's just gonna connect them. Yeah, it's already, on.
But
No, 12 Railroad,
it's not like Woodbury, who's going from 2 to 3 bedrooms.
That's correct.
That's already connected.
yes,
12 Railroad is not.
yes, so, so
Okay.
let me, for full
I'm just
disclosure, he could just connect it.
I'm just trying to get the words right, because if someone adds a 3rd bedroom, we never know, because
We don't.
we may never know, because we
never.
don't get the building
That's
permit, and
gonna
that's the
happen.
problem.
We won't, this happens a lot.
It's gonna happen.
Okay,
That's definitely gonna happen.
okay.
Or one families
I
become
don't know
two
what to tell
families
you about
because
that.
there's nothing we're gonna do. There's nothing we can do
The
about
office
Okay.
becomes a bedroom.
it. Nothing,
Yeah.
absolutely, nothing we can do about it.
Next,
And the office was approved as an office because there was probably no closet. You know what,
Exactly.
you're just not,
You're not gonna,
Yeah,
you're never
that's
gonna
okay.
catch all of them. No.
okay.
No, you won't catch it all, but, okay.
well,
Anything else on these?
no, I just don't want to be considering anything that doesn't have, anything that has anything to do with increased flow. If there's no building permit, that guy hasn't signed off, I don't want to consider them. Do we
Which is-
need another policy down the road here?
I don't think so at the moment, but we may.
Okay,
Which is why we're gonna pull back Knapp. He has no building permit.
We have the policy for that already.
we
Okay,
do
so-
have a policy
Already
for
in place.
that, but now with this,
Yep,
with the
yep.
waiting list, if,
I wanna call it a waiting list, not a queue list.
Call it any goddamn thing you want, it doesn't make any difference.
yeah, okay. Just
All
a
right.
thought, I'm sorry
Okay.
about that.
It's all right, Sewer Superintendent's report, please.
We've exhausted most things I want to talk about, so.
Okay.
Well,
I'm
you wanna
good.
talk about the meetings that happened at the 2 pump stations?
No, because
FEMA?
I'm only confused. So Friday, what's Friday, last Friday? Friday, Sandy and I met with FEMA and MEMA. We applied for a grant to make Narrows Pump Station and Heinz Pump Station resilient to a storm and flood. I believe it's a $1.2 million grant. And so we met with the representatives, I think it was 5 or 6 of them,
Easily.
easily, and we met with who represented FEMA and represented MEMA, and we went over, were considered, so they came down to see our project, visit our pump stations, listen to what we had to say. Our engineer was there, they asked some questions, they did some surveys, took some notes, different engineers, et cetera, and they're gonna give us a list of questions we have to answer. It's an application, it's a new program, and we feel pretty good about it. And if we get the grant, we'll be able to solidify those 2 pump stations.
Anything down by the water guy, you gotta go to the top of the list.
Yeah,
You gotta be right up there.
But they will not do the one down at
Cohasset Narrows.
Cohasset.
Won't touch
Because it's
it.
a velocity zone. It's gonna get wiped away
it's
regardless of
gone
how we make
anyways.
it watertight.
They said it's gone anyways.
So either we just have to pay for it, or we'd have to relocate it? Is that what
Yes,
you're telling me?
yes, we gotta do, that's right, that's on us.
Okay.
They won't touch it because they,
Okay.
But it would be nice to get these two watertight.
Yeah. Good idea.
yeah, so that it was a good meeting, it was kinda interesting.
Just pour enough concrete, right, so they won't float.
What's the estimated cost of doing those 2 stations?
I believe it's 1.2 million.
Oh, and they come up with the whole thing, the grant?
They
the whole
they
thing?
come up with, I'm sure.
Potentially?
I don't think, I don't remember them saying a match, but who knows? When
Wow.
we get the paperwork, we'll look at it and we'll see what's going on. It's pretty interesting.
That would be
The
ideal.
project at the plant's still going on. Again, we're still struggling with components and parts, et cetera, et cetera. It's really difficult. I think we're probably, 2 to 3 months behind schedule. Some things just haven't, especially electronics. We can't get electronics
Indoors.
indoors. Doors to stop production. It's crazy what's going on, but yeah. So it's pretty much it. Everything else is, we've talked about.
Okay, do you have any unanticipated items? No.
Do you want to vote on chair, vice chair, and clerk?
That's the next thing on the list. We need a chair, vice chair.
I nominate James Gibberti as chairman of our board.
Second.
Can we vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And what do you vote?
Aye.
500?
Yeah. Yes.
I nominate Mac White
Second.
for vice chairman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I nominate Sandy Slavin
Second.
as secretary.
Aye.
Aye.
Nobody can do that job but Sandy.
No.
Aye.
Now, see how easy was
And
that?
when Alan retires and goes to Las Vegas, she's staying here.
Sandy, you saved me a lot of time,
Aye.
because as soon as you've said I've read it, I go, I'm not gonna read any more.
That's right.
No, exactly.
They're sent to me, I review them, make my comments
you do.
back,
Yeah.
and make sure my comments are
You do
changed.
your due diligence, that's appreciated.
What I do
do.
as a clerk.
Send a formal one?
No, it's good.
I think,
Yeah, I thought one's
you know,
already
I
gone
just
out.
want to say, I think you
sure
folks
one's
have
already
done
gone
a
out.
really fine job this year. A really fine
one's
job.
already gone out.
And obviously,
But I think what
Dawn,
I'm
I
gonna do is I'm
think
gonna
it's
make
your
copies of
turn.
this. And
Yeah,
It
I'm
is.
gonna make copies and post them all over town hall.
Drum roll, drum roll.
I'd like to make a motion
Excuse me,
to.
quiet, Peter.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna-
Time is
Don't interrupt that.
8:18.